and welcome to Gaming the System. We have got 4 of us here, all on screen. Everybody, hopefully Mike's working. I'm not going to assume that Gem's... No, Matt, yours isn't working.
I'm only joking. My wife works perfectly.
I completely fell for that. I'm really ashamed of that. Anyway, yes, we are Gaming the System. We are looking at gaming through a feminist lens. And today we are both celebrating and reflecting the fact that we have managed to do 6 months worth of Gaming the System podcasts. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Cheers. And
Well done, everybody. Yeah.
Yep, if we had a sound producer. But yes, so some of you may have seen our trailer that we did for the Chichester Free Fringe Festival.
Well done.
I'm very hard to say, but I've managed to do it now. If you haven't, I am putting the link in the chat right now across all the socials. Boom. And yeah, we would have to say that, you know, that we feel that that's quite a nice representation of what we've done over the last 6 months, what we've been talking about, what we've enjoyed doing, and what we hope that you might have enjoyed. If you've seen it, and if you haven't seen it, go back. It's all on YouTube and Spotify and iTunes and every other format I can possibly think of, but we'll get to that. So before I run out of energy, I want to ask you all, like, as a nice positive start to the show, what is it that you're enjoying about doing Gaming the System? Why do you enjoy doing this show? And I'm going to start with Alex.
Oh, okay. I was actually thinking in the countdown to this episode, I actually really enjoy doing stuff live, which is really, really interesting because one would think, as the introvert that I am, I would absolutely hate doing something like this. But actually, over the last 6 months, I have grown to actually really enjoy it. And there's a kind of adrenaline you get from just chatting about stuff live and being live and just sort of coming up with answers to questions on the fly also, which is something you would think is quite hard to do, but actually it turns conversations into sort of natural conversations rather than sort of pre-rehearsed ones, which is always quite interesting. And just generally, I just really enjoy chatting to everybody. And I think we've formed a really great group and we have some really great conversations that need to be had. I just really enjoy the kind of atmosphere we've got going here. I think it's really great.
I like live too. I can't be bothered with trying to polish things and make them pre-rehearsed. So live works much better for me. So, Jem, what are you enjoying about doing Gaming the System?
Well, I mean, everything that Alex has said, I agree with. And I've just really enjoyed talking to you guys about gaming. And I think I've said before, you know, I'm very passionate about gaming and I'm very passionate about feminism. And so it's just really nice to have an opportunity to talk about it and to get some of those thoughts and ideas out there, but also to start that conversation and just see where it goes. So, you know, I think that's really, I've really enjoyed that, really loved that. And yeah, it's lots of fun.
Cool. And Matt, what are you enjoying?
Just everything about it is just epic. Just having a podcast, being on a podcast, podcasts are my favourite thing. Being on a podcast is awesome, number one. Being on a podcast about gaming and feminism are the next two awesome. And the fact that it's so elegant. We haven't missed a week. We've got a schedule. We've got a YouTube page. Having the YouTube page is the most awesome thing ever. I love that. That's so exciting. And we've got so much stuff on it. And yes, I agree. Doing things live in one take is the most effective and easiest way to do anything, because you show up, you do it for an hour, and then it's done. And to be able to because feminism is a perspective on the entire world, you can't just pick and choose where you talk about feminism because it's everywhere and the patriarchy is everywhere. So all of it coming together, coalescing into this awesome place.
Pretty cool. What you were saying then, I mean, I suppose what am I enjoying about it? All of the things you guys have said, and then the cumulative effect of it. I suppose if I was going to add any extra thing to it, it would be, it's kind of rekindled my love of gaming, which, considering that I already spent probably, I'm not going to admit how many hours a week I spent gaming before we did this, but I was in a bit of a gaming rut. I think I was in a rut with my gaming. I think I was very much just like, I was just playing Rust all week, every week, and occasionally having a little break when it was pissing me off, and then playing something else. But I wasn't really exploring gaming, and I wasn't thinking about gaming in the way that I am now. And it's been really nice as well to see how, as you say, Matt, because you can't then ignore feminism, because it's part of all the things that we look at, and obviously it's such a big part of the activism and the lives that we live, being able to have those conversations, because you guys are the only people I know who care about feminism and gaming, so it's really nice to have some people to talk to about those things and see how they connect and how they work together.
Also on the side, so another thing I've enjoyed is working in a. So we think of this as a group project. Every time you try and accomplish something with more than one person, it's a group project, just like in school, just like in university. And it's so rare to find one that actually is, number one, enjoyable to be a part of, two, is effective, and that should be. It's so rare. It's so rare to you don't get those two things. Then if you've never experienced them in a positive way, you think, well, all group activities are always going to be shit, aren't they? But it can be good, and also that this is a form of activism in that we are sharing this very niche space. So this is the fun activism. There's the activism where you stand doing a stall. There's an activism where you raise money, and then there's activism where you use media to share your voice. And it's nice to have some fun activism.
I actually saw an article this week that was, I can't remember who shared it, so apologies if it was one of you, but it was the top tips for in activism as an introvert. And interestingly, one of the things on there was doing a podcast, which I was like, I mean, I'm not an introvert, I will admit that. I don't know, I think those terms are so reductive anyway. It's like, I'm noisy and loud, but it doesn't mean I always want to be around. But anyway, this isn't about me. The point was, I just thought it was surprising that they recommended a podcast as something that an introvert could do for activism. But actually, as you say, Matt, it's a fun kind of activism. It's sharing out these thoughts. And I think it's really important for people to know there's other people out there who think the same way they do, which has been one of the most enjoyable things, is then searching out on the internet for those people who do have these thoughts as well, and how we can connect with them.
You just reminded me of what I said a long time ago about I don't really like people. And that can be mistaken for being an introvert. But if an extroverted person is someone who wants to engage with anyone, no matter who comes up, an introvert might be someone who genuinely finds it difficult being out and about with people. Or you can be an introvert whereby you don't care about the vast majority of people because you don't enjoy spending time about them. You can care about them as people and in an intersectional way, because that's what feminism is. It's saying that everyone matters equally. But at the same time, it doesn't mean you need to be going, oh, there's a person over there I don't really like, so I'm going to not have spent any time or energy in my life with them. I'm going to stay at home and play games and talk to a select few people.
I think that's one of the reasons sometimes interaction in gaming really intimidates me, because the sort of stuff you've talked about, Jem, like that being in a guild and those sort of interactions, they terrify me, because as you say, Matt, that is sort of having to work on a much more personal, interpersonal level. Put me in front of a room of 500 people and ask me to give a speech. No problem. Happy. Fine. Ask me to try and form a long-term connection with some people and keep everything on a positive note all the time. Not that terrifies me, but what's been lovely is we've managed to do it in Gaming the System. So what has been your favourite conversation then? What's out of all the conversations we've had? What topic or what particular niche area? I don't care how big or how small you go. Have you enjoyed most? I'm going to go to Jen.
I don't know. I've been thinking about this, and I don't really have a favourite one because I've just really enjoyed all of them. And I honestly don't mean that as a cop out. It's just I've just really enjoyed all of it, because even the ones that I've come to and I've been a bit sort of like, don't know much about this. Like the esports one was probably the one that I found the most challenging so far, because I just don't know anything about esports, and I was really like, I don't know. But I found it really interesting because I learned loads of stuff, because even if you come to it and it's not something that you know a lot about, or that you thought you cared a lot about, there's still always an angle that you can come at it from. And as Matt was saying, the patriarchy is everywhere, so and issues around diversity and equality are important at all levels. So it's just a matter of finding that route in. So I've just really enjoyed all of the conversations, and I don't actually have a favourite. I think that on the show reel, there's a lot of highlights from that I was like, oh yeah, that was really funny, and that was really funny. So for me, it was just across the board. I just really like that we are talking about this stuff. I think has been, and I know that sounds like a cop out, but that is no,
it's fine. You at least mentioned one specific thing, which the esports, which I think all of us did actually end up doing quite a lot of research for, because we knew nothing about esports, and then we all came to the conclusion that was esports' fault, not our fault. And it was esports that needs to change, and we'd care about it more if they did change. So that was all worthless stroke pointful research. Anyway, I did the words the wrong way around, so it was meant to be worthwhile, and then I realised what I'd done, and I couldn't have a negative back on it. Anyway, Matt, what's been your favourite conversation?
I just had a quick look back at the list of all our episodes, and I'll give an honourable mention to the episode where we had Kate Price on. I wasn't on that episode, so it was really interesting watching it from the outside, and I just loved that episode. I think that was a really wonderful experience to sit through. I think my favourite conversation has been the accessibility and disability episode, not just because I hosted it and because I was rather drunk while I did it. But it's becoming increasingly important to me for both my own health and the health of others in building how I'm viewing the world in the best way to just experience things, to enhance your quality of life. You need to have accessibility and disability. That needs to be the first step whenever you do anything. Because we've been really good on it, and now we're enshrining it into our own methods and practices in order to carry on doing this. And seeing the protest recently about how I think it's 91% of COVID deaths are disabled people, and disabled people come last, are always put last, but they need to be first. And I'm really. I've experiencing it in this space has been a way to actually live the experience that other people need to see. So that's a very important part of it for me.
Just the stat on that, because it astounds me, is that it's 91% that disabled people are 91% more likely to die of COVID, and that was after controlling for health conditions. That statistic, which means that's not just not that it should be anyway, but it's not just health conditions that are cause of that. So, rightly so, our Women's Equality Party colleagues were protesting in London about this yesterday by Millicent Fawcett, and there's a lovely coverage of it in the Independent today, or the iNews. I still don't know what the difference is between iNews and the Independent, but. Anyway, there's a lovely piece of coverage about that there. And you slightly stole my answer, so I'll mention it now, which was when I was editing the show reel together, that was the show actually that stood out to me, that I, possibly because we both had a bit to drink that night, Matt, that I didn't remember very well. But on rewatching it to edit it, I was like, oh, that was really interesting. Oh, that was really interesting. And like, it was one that I found it really hard to cut out lots of bits of it. And I think there was some really, and it was one of the ones that I know I definitely went into that show with trepidation of, I don't know enough to talk about this subject and I don't want to come off as ill thought out. I like to tend to try and be knowledgeable with what I say, believe it or not. And I was really worried going into that show, but actually it opened up so much interesting thoughts and discussion that it actually was more a fact-finding mission than anything. Alex, what conversations have you enjoyed the most?
Well, I was going to give an honourable mention to the accessibility episode because obviously it's really there's a strong personal connection with me, obviously being a disabled woman, and I feel like, even myself, obviously, I didn't feel like I was an expert on the subject at all. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff to do with accessibility that I don't know much about, and I still need to learn more about. And I think that episode was a really good starting point to build on. And I just think it was we had some really good discussions in that episode. But my answer to your question is in fact going to be the episode that we did gaming, because it helped me sort of reframe my ideas of board gaming and where it sits within gaming as a whole, and also about board games and feminism. Feminism works within board games as well, because that's something I never really thought about until we actually sat down and talked about it. And in fact, it is obviously, there is a problem there within board games as well, because it's like we say, the patriarchy is everywhere. But until you sit down and look at it properly, you don't think, oh, well, actually, that's not quite right there. Maybe we should do something about that. But it was just a bit of an eye-opener of an episode, but also a really nostalgic one as well, because it allowed us time to reflect on our favourite board games of childhood and all that sort of thing. So for me, it was very nostalgic, and I just really enjoyed it. I thought we had a lot of fun.
What you just
go on, Matt.
What you just said, what you said at the start about the you and Caroline both saying about not wanting to approaching the accessibility topic, going, oh, I don't know everything about this. I don't want to come across as like ill thought out. And my perspective on what we've been doing and things in general is, because we know gaming and we know feminism, we're not novices. We're not coming into this at entry level going, oh my God, I have no idea what any of this means. What we've got is we've got our working knowledges of things. We're all four different people with four different perspectives. And we're very introspective, and we have lots to say about lots of things. So I think the main thing of coming in is to just arrive, have our rough framework, which is what we always do, and then we can be authentic, because that's what comes through. Is if we just had with the accessibility episode, for example, I only know my experience with mental disabilities. I don't know anything about physical disabilities and the access that gets in the way of. I know it's a massive problem. And so that's the only assumption I think I came into that episode with, was not having any expectations, but just that I trust that if we sat down without a plan, we'd have an hour's fun conversation. So that's why I worry. It worries me. It doesn't worry me so much.
Yeah, I'm glad you have faith in that. I am terrified we're going to run out of things to say. But, that's just me. That's my general concerns. The favourite show for me, the favourite conversation for me was, and again, it was a real shame you weren't there, Matt, because I really missed you being there for it, was the E3 conversation, because preparing for that show forced me to immerse myself in games in a way that I hadn't done in decades, possibly. It was to really go, right, okay, I'm going to watch every single trailer at E3. I'm going to watch as many panels as I can. I just sat there with YouTube channels with 3 days worth of, I think it was like 8 hours on 2 of the days and 5 hours on one of the other days, and just going through that footage was just, as I say, it's re-inspired me. It's just made me go, whoa, games are amazing. And there is so much good stuff out there. There's too much. It's like when you're trying to read every book in the world, there's too many games, but it has. And what that show did, and I am segueing, but it was also my point, was it has really got me playing some different games. It has really got me out of my, I'm only going to play the same games I always play over and over again. And I appreciate, like, you guys playing AAA story games. That's probably less of a problem for you because, you know, you get to the end of one and then the big new thing comes out. But when you do play a lot of sort of first-person shooters and sort of the big multiplayers online and stuff, it becomes really easy to just, I'll just play Rust, or I'll just play COD, or I'll just play the same thing that I played every day, with a few other changes. But so this week, not this week, and the last 2 weeks, I have now got on my Nintendo Wii U, which, because I'm old school, I haven't got around to Switch yet. I'm getting one next week. But on my Wii U, I'm currently playing Breath of the Wild. On my PC, I'm replaying Dragon Age. And on my PlayStation 4, I am playing Final Fantasy VII, the remake, which I've never even played the original. I've never played any Final Fantasy game, sorry. Please at me from the show. But it's just been brilliant. It's just been so sort of like, my gaming horizons are open again. So I wanted to ask you all, what games are you playing, and has it changed because of gaming the system? If you had a similar experience, or are you playing less games? Are you playing different games? Playing the same game? What do you think? So I'm going to go to Matt first.
So I was just writing down a quick list of all the games I've played in the last 6 months, because off the top of your head, you can only really think about the last few you play. But then I consume games at such a pace at the minute. I've been really getting right down to consuming every inch of every game that I've been going through, that really wanting to going through it with a fine-tooth comb, just digging it into the ground, because I think just the richness and the flavour that I want to get specifically from story games is just having a lovely, soothing, massive world to go through. I think nothing has convinced me to do any more online gaming. But I'm filled with more like excitement to try other games, and now having potential avenues to try, because it's very hard to get into playing Dungeons and Dragons if you don't know anyone else who plays Dungeons and Dragons, if you've never done it before. None of you play Warhammer, which is unfortunate. So I'll need to find a way in, another way in there. The best, probably the best game that I've played in the last 6 months. I don't know if it's just the last game that you played that makes you feel like this, but Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, the game that I put over the fight with me fighting the Guardian Ape on YouTube, that got a comment underneath it from someone saying "cool." I was very pleased with that, and it's just, I am in awe of it. I could do an entire hour talking about it, and I may do that on my own one day and just sit there with my phone and go, oh, this. But it's really gotten me back in love and prepared for Elden Ring. These really hard games. I've really rekindled that part of myself recently.
Yeah, and we'll come back to that, but I've talked too much. But yeah, the difficulty of games is something that's becoming a problem for me again. Alex, how about you? Has it changed your relationship with games by doing this show?
Well, I think it has. It's really interesting, actually. It's the way I think about games. Like, it's not just consuming a game. Oh, was that a loud train? it's not just consuming a game and sitting and playing it. It's more about like thinking about how the game was built and developed, and like in terms of even just accessibility as an example, I'll look at the accessibility features and kind of rate it based on that a bit more. I'll think about what games would be good for streaming, which is a really fun thing to do. I'm finding now. I'll think about what games are doing things right, what games are doing things wrong, what can I bring up in conversation. It's just sparking all these questions in my head that obviously I'd never had before because I didn't have a podcast before. So it's always quite interesting to think about it in that way. And I'm definitely excited for all the upcoming games in the next sort of year or so, hopefully in the next couple of years, to be able to talk about those from this perspective and just chat with you guys about them.
Yeah, I also like the fact we can just talk about how fun the games are. We don't have to go, well, what is the feminist perspective on everything? So sometimes it's just, it's cool. You're fighting a giant ape. It's incredibly cool. Okay, all right. Exactly. Jem, I feel like you possibly have, I think you've implied that you've made more time for gaming over the last 6 months.
Yeah. For me, it's completely turned my relationship with gaming back on its head, really, and brought me back to gaming. And I think, I haven't talked a lot about the dark side of gaming, but for me, it did go to quite a dark place and is associated for me with a really, really difficult time in my life. And so I sort of found the whole gaming thing really kind of approach avoid really. I loved it. I liked gaming, but I just associated it with negative stuff, and so it was quite challenging for me, and this has just given me an excuse to game for a different reason, for a positive reason, for research and but also it's like listening to you guys talking about the games and all the different things with such passion and enthusiasm has really made me want to try all of them. I've gone out and I've tried basically most of the games that you not all the games that we've mentioned, obviously, but a game that each of you has mentioned, I've gone out and given it a go or got really enthusiastic about it. I would not have bought a PS5 if we hadn't been doing this, and it would have been. I mean, we bought a PS4 very late, and we would have just waited until it had come down in price if that was ever going to happen, and but we went out and got one, so that was that wouldn't have happened, and I wouldn't have. I just wouldn't have engaged with it in the same way. So I've really enjoyed it. And I think, as we were talking about E3 and, like you were saying, Caroline, that it gave you an excuse to go and watch all these videos and get really enthusiastic. And I did the same. And I would not have, as I said, there was a time when I was excited about the idea that one day I was going to go to E3. And then years and years went by and I just didn't really engage with it. And so it was really nice to have an excuse to do that. And I think, instead of seeing gaming as something that you do when everything else is done, which this never happens, I now see it as a way to explore my feminism, but also as a way to have downtime and to connect with other people, which I think for a long time I kind of had distanced myself from that, and I'm really excited to explore new games with my daughter as well. Like the conversations that we've been having here have made me think a lot about the sorts of games that she will enjoy and the sort of games that we will enjoy as a family, and it's just really opened it all up for me. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I loved, like, the other day when you messaged and said, how do I make RimWorld better? Because it's a hard game, let's be fair. It's not like an easy straight in game. And rather than me like WhatsApping you a load of things, it's like, well, all right, let's play it together. Let's just
it was so much fun. It was so much fun.
Such a good way to spend a Sunday. Just streaming. And of course, as soon as we finished like streaming, I then was like, quite like this colony. I might have to carry on. So now I've got a RimWorld game going on as well.
Well, I should probably say that after we finished streaming, I carried on playing to the next day, and then everyone has died. So now I have to start again. It was very traumatic.
Sometimes everybody dies in RimWorld, and you've just got to move forward. You know, sometimes you get drunk and you buy 4 bears, and you wake up the next day and you've got 53 bears, and you're like, what am I going to do with all these bears?
Horny bears.
I'm finding at the moment, the only problem I am finding it, like I remember Dara O'Brien years ago did a sketch about this, about the video games being about the only form of media where if you can't get past something, then you don't get to find out how the story ends, sort of thing, and that sort of difficulty thing. And I am having now had sort of 2 weeks of playing proper games again, games where I can't just rage quit when I lose. I am hitting the odd wall. So like I've got to a fight in Dragon Age where I'm like, this is a bit of a slog, and I keep losing it and I have to keep reloading it. And Breath of the Wild, I'm on one of those bloody stealth missions where you have to creep past all the guards. Yeah. And if you get caught, you go all the way back to the beginning and you have to creep past all the bloody guards again. Got to distract them with bananas. I'm having trouble with that. What happened? Yeah, Final Fantasy. I was just like, whoa, this is intense. The opening of that Final Fantasy VII remake is just like, so you're breaking into some sort of power station or some sort of, I didn't quite follow it. And everything is blowing up. There's things attacking you from everywhere. After I finished that intro, I was like, I need to lie down now. So I do think there is a bit of possibly that I need to recover what's been lovely about doing this is I'm not quitting, because I know I have to tell you guys about me getting to the end of the game, and I know I would have to admit that I quit, but it is something that people talk about quite often when they're gatekeeping gaming, about, you know, not lowering the difficulty level, and, you know, do you persist spending 16 hours trying to get past one bloody fight, etc. I don't know if anybody else I don't know if anyone wanted to say anything about that, or if I'm just wittering.
Go ahead, Jem. I keep on speaking first. You go ahead, Jem.
I know. I was just going to say that, you know, because I'm because I have limited time, or I can get interrupted if my daughter's around and things like that. But I have found it difficult to commit to games that have that require that kind of length, and that was one of the reasons why I didn't play Dragon Age Inquisition when it first came out, and my husband played it, and I'd actually got him into Dragon Age. But it was just, I just felt like I can't commit to this. I can't commit the time. And that's one thing that I feel with online gaming now, actually, which is one reason why I don't do more online gaming, because again, it just feels like a massive commitment of time, and I don't want to do that. And I don't, you know, so I do find that an issue. And I think what I have done is I have changed my attitude to the difficulty level, and I am happy now to just go, do you know what, I'm just playing this for fun. I'm not out to prove anything to anyone, and if I want to come back and do it on a harder level, then I can. But, you know, it's like I'm playing Resident Evil now, and only a crazy person goes in to do it at a hard level the first playthrough anyway, because it's terrifying. But I just, you know, I didn't kind of agonize over it. I was just like, no, I'm going to do it I didn't go in as easy, but, you know, I went in at the regular level, and I think that's, you've just got to, it's a fun thing to do. It's you know, gaming is something for fun. It's not a job. It's not a chore. And if it is, then don't do it. I mean, that is what happened to me. Yeah, exactly. And I think you just have to go in at whatever level works for you. And I have had conversations with my daughter about platforming games recently, because she was doing the Astro game that comes with the PS5, and she was talking about how it's a platform game and how lots of people online are like, oh, platform games are not proper games. And it's just like, well, okay, you know, who made you the ruler of what is and isn't a proper game? And so she was saying, but they are proper games, which they are, as we know well. But yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of gatekeepers out there who are saying, like, oh no, you shouldn't, this isn't a proper game, or you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't do that. Well, I mean, as feminists, we know damn well that, people can't tell us what we should and shouldn't do.
And platformers are hard as well, damn you. I was playing some Mario to try and get over the bloody stealth mission, and then I got stuck on this bit. We had to jump over it. Anyway, Matt, you were going to say something.
Yeah, it just made me think how you just saying then, talking about easy mode, it just made me realise how internalized that message of play it on normal or more. You put it to easy, you're pathetic, you're not manly. It's that it really made me twisted then just thinking about that. And you're talking about your daughter saying, oh, they're not real games. So can you play this? Yes, and it's a game, isn't it?
Yeah.
And just that bullshit thing, which is exactly what the patriarchy does as well, which is it beats a message into you, and then you end up beating that same message back into yourself for the rest of your life. So what we were doing just then, just made me go, oh yeah, I went onto easy mode for the last boss of Village, and because I wanted the story, I enjoyed the challenge way through, and then because you can choose challenges. There are enough challenges in life that you have no choice to overcome. And so if you've got an option to make a challenge easier, fucking do it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Absolutely.
So Tom, very nice. Which I feel we ought to give both Tom and Daniel a shout out today, our nice regular viewers who contribute in the chat. Thank you very much. It's been a good 6 months with you guys too. And yeah, Tom, saying difficulty should be opt-in. Some people are going to want to do that sort of thing. My brother absolutely loves roguelike games, which are games that are like the old game Rogue, which was famous because it was horribly hard. But they're basically, those sort of procedurally generated running games where you're running through, like Crypt of the Necrodancer that I streamed the other day, and those sort of things. And they have a place and they're good fun. But they shouldn't have to be forced to do something horribly difficult to get to the end of the game. I mean, I really liked on Sayonara Wild Hearts, which has this beautiful visuals and beautiful music. And every time I got really stuck, this lovely voice pops up and goes, would you like to skip this bit? If you wanted to, you can, and you can still enjoy the music and the beauty and the visuals.
I want that in real life.
But that is so ingrained in me, Matt, that I didn't click that once. Because I was like, no, I can't do that. I'm glad also that Tom agrees with me that platform games are, in fact,
definitely.
Some of them are really bloody hard. I've probably played more platform games than anything else, to be honest with you, over the years, but such is life. What are we talking about? Oh, yes.
I had one last thing on the difficulty.
Of course you can. It's always a good topic.
Yeah, so things like Dark Souls and Nioh and Sekiro, they're like the gold standard of, there's one difficulty level, which is really fucking difficult.
Yeah.
But the reason I think those games are, particularly I'm feeling it with Sekiro right now, is they are painstakingly crafted to create the level of difficulty. It's not just difficulty levels are you just changing the stats, basically. You've got this amount of health, then you've got this amount, then this amount, then this amount. They hit this amount of this with this amount of power. But these games, nothing is just standard. They don't just go, oh, we'll have that attack and this attack and this attack. It's a proper ecosystem of difficulty, which is why I don't think they need normal difficulty levels, because it's literally about getting good. You need to learn how to do it properly without having any ability to opt out. And then that's what allows you persevere, and then you actually become so good that the earlier parts of the game becomes easy. The game becomes easier because you get better at it. And that's the purpose of those particular games.
Yeah, and I agree. The perseverance is something that I know I'm very guilty of not persevering. I am somebody who just goes too hard. I'm giving up. So it's been nice to feel forced to persevere in a good way, for fun, for hopefully some positive.
Being forced to have fun.
Yeah. Although, like, you know, when my other half was playing Dark Souls, I did have to say to him after a while, I was like, are you actually enjoying yourself? You don't seem like you're having any fun right now. And it has put me off ever trying Dark Souls, I have to admit. What was I going to ask you next? I know what I want to ask you about. So we sort of talked about it a bit, and Alex, you were looking at games to see what they'd be like in terms of streaming. I think, Matt, you were the only one of us who'd ever done any streaming of games before, and even then you did it in a one-off hellish 24-hour period, which seems mad. But we've all had a go at streaming games now. Jem, unfortunately, lives where there's a shit internet connection, so she can't live stream. But you have recorded some and played it for us and talked over it. But we've all done a bit of live streaming now. How do we feel about live streaming games? How is it like? What was it like as an experience? I'm going to come to Alex first.
It's easier than I expected, particularly thinking back to some of our very first live streams as a channel when I did Absolute. It was the first time I'd ever done it, and literally for an hour I just thought, oh my god, what am I going to say? How is it going to look? I'm going to be rubbish at it. But actually it just came really easily, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I just talked sort of to these imaginary people in my head as I was playing, and it seemed to work particularly well, which was really good fun. No, I think there is a level of skill to it which you kind of get to know when you're doing it. It's really hard to describe unless you've done it, but I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. But it's it just comes fairly naturally, which is interesting. Yeah, I really enjoy it. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as quickly as I did, but yeah, no, it's all I can think about now is which games would be really good to stream next. So I'm really looking forward to doing more in the future.
And how, because you and Matt have been able to use the PlayStation hot swappy playing together feature, which I didn't even know existed, and I think is so cool. How have you enjoyed that?
Just being able to swap controls has been really fun as well. So, for example, I think when you joined us, Caroline, I was having some trouble with a puzzle, and then Matt was just like, no, I'll take it there. And he totally solved it in like 10 seconds.
I don't think it was exactly like that wording, but...
no. Yeah, in my head slightly. But yes, no, it was fine. Because you obviously totally spotted the answer straight away. That's always the thing with streaming as well. It takes you ages to spot things that are really obvious to people watching. So cut streamers from Slack, because it's really hard to solve puzzles when you're streaming. But no, Matt, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I was going to say, do you feel more positive about streaming now than you did after your 24-hour marathon of streaming?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's just again, it's a live thing. You just press go, and then after an hour you press stop, and then it's done. And the thing I was most pleased by was how much easier it is when you've got company.
For sure.
Being able to go back and forth with someone is really nice, and especially with the God of War, exploring that in a new way with someone else. That's a game that you could write dissertation after dissertation of, and it's so nice to be able to explore games in that new way. As again, with everything that we do, I love talking about games and getting other people's input on games. So yeah, I'm excited about streaming. It's not easy by any means, but it's something that you just practice. You practice it, and it gets easier. Yeah.
And Jem, what about? I mean, I feel so bad that you're having to pre-record your streams so you've not quite got the same experience. But you know, you were on the RimWorld stream with me the other day, and you know, you've done what are your thoughts about streaming games?
I really wish that I could do it. I'm gutted that I can't, and we have looked into it, and it's just not possible. But I think it's quite technically practically difficult to play a game, especially if it's a bit challenging, and talk about it at the same time. And I did find when I did the Dragon Age pre-record that I was like, it was just it was quite difficult to concentrate on these two things at once. And I think there's definitely a skill there, and the people that do it, obviously it's something that you get better at over time. So there are some people out there who are amazing, and they're so entertaining to watch and listen to, and it's and I feel like there's a lot that I can learn there. I do really enjoyed doing when I've been streaming, when I've been recording with somebody else. So when I did the thing with Daniel and we did that, I can't even remember the name of the game now, but anyway, we did that one, and that was fun, just to hear us talking to each other. I thought that was quite fun for us to do. But I enjoyed the RimWorld one the most, because that felt like that flowed really well, because it was just nice to be actually live and chatting with somebody else. And I do think that's the thing, and I think that's what I've got from Alex and Matt, that often they're doing streaming together. And I think that's been really fun to watch you both doing that, and the banter that comes from that. I think that for me, that's something that's sort of the joy of it, really. And I'm still quite nervous about the idea of doing something like that. And I think so, and I think it's difficult to feel that I'm I don't know, that I can say enough interesting stuff. But I think it's been really nice that we've kept most of our sessions to the hour, or that we haven't felt that we've had to go longer than that. So, that's quite nice. You can do anything for an hour, really. So,
yeah. But I think it's interesting what you say about that. Like, it does work better having like two of us talk to you, because I'm hugely resistant to doing things with other people. As I say, I'm an odd sort of introverted extrovert, and like you say to me, Caroline, do you want to come and help you with that? No, I shall do that on my own. No, it's absolutely fine. But when I've done the streams on my own, it's so easy to lose the thread of what you're talking about. Like, because I will be wittering on about something, and then you get attacked by a pig. I'm being attacked by a pig. And this sort of thing that happens, that then I'm like, what was I talking? I have no idea. I'm the worst at losing my thread anyway. And so, like, you put in the concentrating on the game as well. But what was lovely doing the RimWorld one with you the other day, Jen, was because you had questions. I was like, aha, I have this things to talk about. Because when I've done I'm doing a few pre-record streams, or as you guys know, of things like Rust and 7 Days to Die, where I don't want to play them live because there's horrible people out there. And we all know there's good reasons to not play it live. But when I'm doing those on my own, I forget I'm recording, and like 10 minutes of silence can go by. I'm just hitting rocks. I'm just gathering my wood. I'm completely forgotten I'm meant to actually be talking. So I think there is something valuable in having people there to talk to when they're streaming. And some of the big streamers do it. They have their posse in the chat, but frankly, I think it's nicer to have. It's nice that we can just hop on a link and talk to each other as well. We're just basically, this has just turned into our planning meeting, by the way. It's like we're just basically having an online team meeting here now. So you will be pleased to know, guys, I have got a wildcard question though for you tonight. But before that, I suppose I'd sort of put like the idea of the question of what's the best game you started playing since this podcast and why. But I suppose it's like I'd rather make it bigger. So it might be that, but like, what is the best thing that's changed about gaming for you, or the best thing you started doing, or the best anything? Just tell me one thing that's awesome since you started doing this podcast in the last 6 months. And I shall pick on Matt first.
Playing multiple games at the same time, dipping in and out. So I'll have like 5 games installed on PlayStation, and rather than playing one to the nth degree, I can hop in and out. I actually like doing that with books as well. But I've always, since I got a Kindle like 8 years ago, other e-readers are available, and please never buy from Amazon. But that being able to, depending on my mood, dip in and out, and now start, as you say, doing it with games is, I think, really emotionally healthy, because sometimes playing Dark Souls
or Rust or whatever is not the emotionally healthy option. So yeah, I like that. Jem, what about you?
I've got two, actually, I'm afraid, if that's all right.
All right, the floor is yours.
Firstly, I wanted to say that I have found it so enriching to sit and talk with the three of you about games, because you've all brought very different experiences to my world. And I am thinking about, the idea of being a male feminist in our gaming in our world today has, I had not thought of the issues that you've raised, Matt, over these last 6 months. I hadn't considered some of the pressures and the challenges really that you face when you're an enlightened man in this situation. And Alex, you've just really opened my eyes to the experiences of people with disabilities. And I know you don't speak for everyone, and I'm not asking you to, but it has made me think about things in a way that I just really, really had never just hadn't, because it's not my experience, and I'm very privileged in the way that my life has been, that I haven't had to think about these things, and now I do. And now I think about things like, oh, that would be challenging if you didn't have this, or you couldn't do that, or that, just things that I hadn't thought about, and the things that I now think that hope that we're increasingly like game designers are considering this diversity. And Caroline, you're just an awesome presenter, and it's just been so much fun to hear all the amazing stuff that really, and you come to every single session with like this font of knowledge and all this background and fantastic questions, and and it's just and it's also really nice to meet somebody who's not quite as old as me, but who is gaming, and that's really nice, because I don't meet very many women who are doing that. So I did want to say that, and because I really feel like I've gained so much from these last 6 months, and I'm not trying to get emotional on everything.
Thank you for doing that, because I can't do that, because I just am dead inside and can't sort of express emotions like that. But if I could, and I'm sure we would, none of us here would, I would echo everything you say about Alex and Matt and all of that, and none of us would reduce you to just saying it's great to have a parent's perspective. But you bring so much more to this, Jen, than just being a parent, and the wonders of your experience of games that none of us would play because we're scared of other human beings. So
I don't blame you.
Thank you for doing the nice, cheesy, emotional bit. And I'll let you get on to the second point now.
Yes, well, my second point was just actually that the doing the podcast has opened up conversations with people outside of this group who might not normally have done gaming. So I just wanted to share this with you. I got a while ago, we were talking about me having a Magic is Everywhere sticker that I had never put on anywhere, and a friend of mine sent me a whole bunch of stickers. And I just thought, they just sent them to me, and she said that she'd ordered these when she heard my bumper sticker story on gaming the system. So you can stick them wherever you like. And I just thought, I've had conversations with people who've come up to me and said, oh, I don't know what to do because I'm struggling with my child who's a gamer, or I don't know, I what kind of games, how do I get into gaming, or what kind of board games do you think I should play? And it's just been really nice actually that it is opening up that conversation outside of this group and beyond, and with people who would not normally have considered themselves gamers or would not normally have taken an interest. So that's my takeaway.
Yeah. No, I'm loving the confidence to talk about gaming with people. Alex, what's been your big takeaway thing?
Well, that's tricky to follow up from Jem, but I will try my best. And I was going to aim for saying, I've really enjoyed everyone's passion for the games they love and for standing up for feminism and everything. And it's just like your perspectives on games that I wouldn't normally play have made me think about, well, maybe I should dip into some of these games. For example, I did have a go at Final Fantasy VII Remake. I still am on the fence about it, but I tried it. which is not something I would have done if I hadn't been on the podcast, which is a good thing. I think we push each other to think about things differently, which is cool. And no, just generally, I love chatting with really passionate people, and I love how nerdy we are about all of our respective things that we love. And I just think it's so great to, like Jem says, I'm going to steal your phrase, Jem, you find your tribe. And it's just really great. And I don't think I can improve upon that answer. So I'm going to stop
we've
there.
all gone super cheesy and lovely.
I know.
I didn't see that.
I know.
No. And it makes me awkward and not able to like say things nicely. But what I absolutely echo all of those things, and I think the biggest thing is the confidence to talk about gaming more, the confidence to talk about gaming with other people more, the fact that, and I feel it's not just me, I feel like our friends and family are now getting more of even those who were slightly into gaming. I know my other half is definitely looking at gaming in a different way and playing different games he wouldn't have done, and enjoying, even though he hates being mentioned on the internet, enjoying the conversations afterwards and hearing them. So I think it's a lovely wider effect, and I'm looking forward to another 6 months of doing this chat.
Yay.
So that brings me to the wildcard question. So we have coming up soon, we've got more guests, right? There's going to be some shows coming up with guests soon, guys. It's exciting. I mean guys in a non-gender specific way, just to be very clear. But so I thought a nice wildcard question would be, if you could have any person, dead or alive, fictional or real, as a guest on Gaming the System, who would you have? I know. I was thinking about this from my point of view, and I was thinking, honestly, what I'd really love to have, and this is the lamest answer, so you guys can all go up from here. But I've forgotten her name. But I would really love to have the designer of the board game Wingspan, which I will have Googled by the time I get to the end of this sentence, which is Elizabeth Hargrave, which is, and the thing is because, like, I know Wingspan is a board game, not a video game, but you can get a video game version of it on Steam via Tabletop Simulator. But Wingspan is a game that I never thought I'd enjoy. It's about birds. It's a bloody board game about birds. And it has just been one of the most enjoyable things for me. It's brilliantly balanced. I've played it with huge numbers of different people and they've all enjoyed it. And Elizabeth Hargrave, she's a woman who's out there and gone, I'm going to make a really unusual board game. I'm going to make it successful. I'm not going to compromise my views. And that can't have been easy. And so, I'm going to chuck out Elizabeth Hargrave as my starting extremely nerdy answer. If I could have anybody, and, I should have gone for somebody more exciting. I should have gone for Princess Peach. And anyway, okay. Oh no, I've stolen someone's answer. Right. Matt, who would you have as the guest? I can go to Alex or Jem first if you're not ready.
Have either of you got an answer ready? Or do you need this answer? You do.
I may have. I was, but then, kind of leads on from what Caroline said. I was going to say, and Matt, you won't like this, I was going to say Mario. Because, like, what's the tea between him and Luigi? I want to know.
Yeah.
Like,
what is the motivation there?
Yeah. There's so much to unearth, I mean, we could probably talk for hours. Not that I know much about Mario, really, but, it'd be interesting, like, to have on, like, all he's trying to do is be a plumber, and then he gets embroiled in all this tomfoolery. What's going on there?
Saving the universe. I want to know which powers he likes having the most. Whether he likes being Fire Mario, or whether he likes being like the Cat Mario, or the for all those things. I want to know which Mario is his favourite Mario to be.
Yeah.
Jem, Matt, any thoughts?
I can
would
go.
like to... Sorry?
No, Matt, go. Go.
I would like to have Hidetaka Miyazaki come up, because this is like what you were saying, Jem, about this is a way to bring people into gaming. We can also, that gaming is the Trojan horse for feminism, and so you can. I'd love this to be the show that converts loads of people to being, I am actually a feminist as well, aren't I? So I'd love to have him on and for him to go, oh yes, I'm a feminist, of course. only a moron would not be a feminist. And just have him and just talk about all the scary, cool things he does. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Do you think that it would be cool to have someone on who's clearly not a feminist, who's a game developer? Like have a horrible and just challenge them and just wonder why. But I suppose the flip side of that is that it's very hard to change people's minds.
I think especially the more powerful they are. Because if you're powerful with your current views, there's not much benefit to you or your egos change them.
Yeah. Jem, then, I'm going to put you on the spot. You've got to give us an answer. We can't end the show until you do.
No, I'd probably go for Anita Sarkeesian because for me, she's a bit of a sort of feminist gaming icon, really, because she's up there saying a lot of stuff, and I think feminist frequency is a bit of a bible, really, for feminism in the gaming world, and she's sort of been blazing a path, and I'm sure she has her ups and downs, but I would just really love to talk to her about her experience and just get to the heart of all of that in one of our conversations would be lovely.
Oh, well, if anybody knows any of those people, but we do have some guests coming up for you over the next few weeks. So I think that is it. So all that is left for us to do is, first of all, say thank you to anyone who's been listening for 6 months and watching for 6 months. We really appreciate it. Thank you to all of you, because Jem's done the soppy bit, so I don't have to, so that's fine. But you're all wonderful. I love talking to you. I look forward to another 6 months of this. And then, Matt, what do people have to do?
Primarily, like and comment, because that's how algorithms go. Oh, people actually not only watch, but they're engaging. So.
It doesn't have the nice alliteration of share and subscribe.
No, we can say that afterwards. So share and subscribe as well. And you can find us if you want audio. You can find us Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you find podcasts.
Cool. And we've been Gaming the System. We'll be here every Thursday at 7 p.m. And thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed that episode of Gaming the System. If you want to support us, you can donate to us through our PayPal by sending it to wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com if you want to send us a one-off donation. If you want to donate to us monthly, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem. Until next time, bye-bye.